Hey everyone, just going to give a quick disclaimer here before I get started. I know my videos are generally pretty cheerful, and at least a little bit optimistic, but this is not one of those. This is going to be a pretty pessimistic video. So if that's not your thing, you may want to skip this one and move on to the next one I make here in a week. I do think it's reasonable though, but we'll leave that for you to judge. Anyway, getting started. Oddly enough, it's a Saturday night video. I usually film on Sundays, but decided to do it on Saturday night just because I've got a lot of thoughts in my brain and I wanted to unload them, and this seemed like a good time to get that done. But the simple thing is that I don't get excited about New Year's. I kind of hate it, if I'm being honest. I mean, I'll have my drinks and I'll do my best to enjoy myself, especially the last couple of days because we've had California weather here in Kansas City. So I've been doing a lot of walking, especially around the plaza and Loose Park, and just really enjoying seeing all the people out there that really are enjoying the holidays. Um, Even if I've got a little doom and gloom hovering over my head, but I haven't really enjoyed New Year's in at least a decade. I'm able to remember what it was like in my head and my heart um, as a kid on Christmas, and I kind of tap into that to get into the holiday spirit. And if you saw my Christmas Eve walk video, you know I love Christmas lights too, so I am able to find a lot of things that I can enjoy there. But New Year's, for a lot of reasons, just isn't a holiday that I look forward to. I just don't know how to celebrate a holiday where the focus is on, hope for the time to come and optimism when I'm just really not. Already just in the last 2 weeks, we've heard about layoffs that are going to be coming that affect, thousands and thousands of American workers. Uh, Grocery bills have exploded. Mortgages and rent have gone up tremendously in the last 5 years. If you have a kid, you're paying an extra mortgage payment for childcare. If you have a kid in school, less is being spent on their schooling. Teachers aren't being treated very well, not as well as they should be. And LLMs are doing their best to stay deregulated. And, we've already seen in a lot of ways how that's not good for kids. If you have an injury or an illness, you're probably teetering on the brink of bankruptcy. And if you're a college student, the odds are, you're already locked into a lifetime of debt. And our leaders who are supposed to be fixing all this, they're starting wars and committing acts of piracy and talking about how great the stock market's doing. Because we all know if the stock market's doing great, then the workers are doing great, right? But really, they're just twiddling their thumbs and doing absolutely nothing about it and pretending it doesn't exist. And so I say it again, how can a reasonable person be expected to celebrate a holiday where you're supposed to be hopeful and optimistic? And I guess for the answer for me is I just don't know. I really don't. I'm the son of a roofer with over a dozen siblings, so I ended up working my way through college, and I got a lot of help. I was making $10 an hour, but I was able to work. I was able to get loans. I talked about how I paid those off in another video, but that's essentially impossible for people to do now due to the affordability crisis. Just feels like at least my adult working life has corresponded with the general decline, and every year's been harder, at least since 2001. I go back to making $10 an hour in college, and then in this country, there are a lot of places where that won't even buy you a cup of coffee now. My first real job, I was there for 12 years. I wasn't treated very well. I worked a lot of overtime, and they did tell me when I was hired that I'd be working a lot of overtime and that would figure into the salary that I had requested. Um, but I made maybe 3% in raise a year, and there were layoffs every year at that company since 2009. Like it was kind of a scary place to work. Exploitation of younger workers and using layoffs as a way to make your financial projections work when you weren't that good at managing a business. And I'm lucky to have a job now that I love where I'm treated really well. But I think all of us are worried about what's going to happen economically in the near term. If you've read about LLMs, it's LLM spending among a handful of companies that's propped up the U.S. economy for the last couple of years. And if that spending stops, it's going to be catastrophic. And to me, it's just mind-boggling that like the biggest decisions I've made in my life were, one, to remain a bachelor, two, not to have kids. And growing up poor, I learned how to make a dollar stretch, and also never to not save. Even when I wasn't making very much money in my first real job, I never ever scrimped on saving and putting money aside. And yet again, with the affordability crisis and cost of living being what it is, a lot of people can't do that now. Anyway, that's a lot. Sorry. I know that this isn't really what I do, and probably won't get a ton of views, but I did want to put it out there. I do think it's going to be a tough year. I for myself and for a lot of people. And just to be clear, my cynicism doesn't keep me from enjoying life. It doesn't keep me from enjoying holidays either. But this is just something that's been on my heart, and I really wanted to unpack. With that said, we're not totally powerless. We can be disciplined, try to make good decisions for ourselves, and do our best to be kind to ourselves and the people around us. And I think that last bit, just being kind, is going to be a huge, huge, an important thing in the year to come. If you're fortunate to have space in your budget and you're able to give, I strongly encourage you to be as generous as you can with your time and your money and give to people in your community around. And I still hope everybody has a nice holiday, even though I just kind of put a damper on it. But thank you for watching. Thank you for sitting through this. If you have any thoughts you'd like to add, please put them in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think. Are there reasons to be optimistic in the new year? I'd love to hear what you think about that as well. Feel free to drop them in the comments. And if you feel inclined, please please subscribe. And hopefully we'll have some happier stuff to talk about here in a week. Enjoy the rest of your holiday, folks.